It's time for CIBL Biz Tips, bringing you actionable strategies to grow and improve your business. Prepare to become civilized.
What's up, Central Illinois? Welcome to CIBL Biz Tips, where we bring you concepts and strategies to grow your Central Illinois business. Today, we're joined by the owner of Jedco Sales Promotional Advertising, owner of Peace Lily Metalworks, a co-host of the Short Story Long podcast, and a Central Illinois side hustler who has gone worldwide. Ladies and gents of Central Illinois, welcome Andrew Dial. How you doing, Andrew?
I'm doing good. How are you guys doing?
We're doing good. Appreciate you jumping on here with us.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate you having me back.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're excited to have you back. So when we had you on the first time, it was you and your wife, Laren. We talked about the business you guys started, Peace Lily Metalworks, and you guys have evolved in a new direction. But the reason we have you on, Andrew, it's hard to call you Andrew because I know you as Dozer.
That's right. Yeah.
So I'm going to call you Dozer from now on because it just feels awkward saying Andrew.
Hey,
So
it's your show, man.
we said it in the intro. You are a world-renowned side hustler, and the way that you started the business, one of your businesses or several of your businesses, was through a side hustle. And in the year of 2023, which we're in right now, and I guess since COVID, side hustling has kind of been a hot topic, and people want to learn more about, what side hustles are available, how other people have done it. And you had a unique one that kind of led you in a direction that you probably didn't expect. And you jumped over some hurdles to start it. So I think it's time to just turn the mic over to you and tell us about the side hustle that changed everything for you.
Well, I wanted to go on and say, this is kind of for people, how I view it is, they have a job that they're not, too crazy about, would like to go out on their own, do their own thing, be their own boss. So, this isn't necessarily a hustle thing in general, because you can hustle, in your own business if you haven't already and stuff. I viewed this more as talking to the person who's working somewhere, isn't super happy with their job, want to do their own thing. And Derek sold me as worldwide just to, butter me up. But, I'm not going to go on here and say I'm the professional and hustle 100% all the time. There's always room for improvement. I'm not Gary Vee or Tony Robbins or something like that. But I figured I'd just kind of share my story, kind of my journey in doing it. And, it might strike a chord with someone else, and other people may not get much from it, but that's what I got. So
cool.
And like they say, if it's free and it's if you don't like it, it's worth what you paid.
There you go.
Nice.
So,
we may end up charging for this one if it's good enough. So
that's all right. So I guess, starting kind of my journey, I went to college for 4 years at Southern Illinois University in Carbondale. And I viewed going to college was my job. Like, that's what I needed to focus on, get a good education. I didn't work while I was in college. Fortunately, I had the, support to not have to do that. And after I graduated college, I viewed myself as retired. I got the college degree. This is what I've been working the last, how many years you go to school after a 4-year degree, 16 years. I've worked for 16 years. I'm retired. So I got my big boy job, which was with Jedco. My dad owned it at the time, and, went to work. And when you came home, you ate supper and sat on the couch, watched TV or whatever you did in the evenings. I did do a little side work for people in my 20s just when I needed money. But I remember always be like, I'm working too hard. I'm working too hard. I need to quit this, So I would, get going on something, helping somebody out, and say, well, I'm not doing that anymore. And I did that multiple times. So I remember the turning moment in my life is my buddy Ross had a 30th birthday party. It's a surprise birthday party. We went there. Everybody surprised him. It was really cool. And we were sitting around, eating and drinking beer and stuff like that at his birthday. And everybody was talking about, Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos. And it's embarrassed to admit, I had no idea who those people were. And I'll mind you, this was 4 years ago, but they were talking, oh, SpaceX this and Tesla that. And I'm just like, what are you guys talking about? I finally pulled one of my friends, over, said, who's Jeff Bezos? He's like, what do you mean you don't know? And I was like, no, I don't. And he's, he started Amazon. I was like, okay. And everybody, one friend had some rental property he was doing. Another friend had started a business. Everybody just had big stuff going on, and I was not having big stuff going on. And I kind of had a meltdown at that point, personally, not public or anything, but I kind of went home and was like, what am I doing with my life? So that was kind of the first step. Once I started, you gotta kind of become self-aware before you can change what you're doing. And one of my friends who owns a business, Cody Willenberg in Effingham, CW Motorsports, he sent me a Gary V video. And if you don't know who Gary V is, or Gary Vaynerchuk, go find his stuff on YouTube. I would say that's a good start, on shifting your mindset on how you look at things. And he was talking in that video that, you can work your day job, you can go home, eat supper with your family, play with your kids. And he said, but what are you doing between, 8 o'clock? I have younger kids, so my kids go to bed at 8 o'clock. What are you doing between 8 o'clock and midnight? That's a whole nother 4 hours, or even if you don't work till midnight, 3 hours. And what are you doing? And I kind of realized at that point, like, I get the kids to bed and I sit on my butt and scroll through social media for hours on end. So that's kind of when I started thinking about, well, what should I do? What should I do extra? And heaven forbid I, work harder at my day job with that time. For some reason, that wasn't an option. But we had just moved to a house out in the country, and I had a big yard. I'd always lived in town. I needed a lawnmower. So I started looking. I found a 1978 John Deere 400 garden tractor, and I just liked the way it looked. I didn't know anything about it. And so I went and bought it. It was old, can't get parts for it. John Deere is really good about, you can get parts for like everything. So all the way back to like the 30s, John Deere dealer can get parts still.
Wow.
But this tractor, they only made a few years. And it was kind of like the redheaded stepchild. It did not share parts with anything else. So there wasn't a lot of parts for them. I didn't know this when I bought it. So I needed parts, and I started realizing you can buy whole tractors for cheaper than you could buy the parts you needed to fix it. And I got a collection of like 2 or 3 of these. And then, people, there's, a whole, as everything is with niche groups, there's Facebook groups for these tractors, and people have get-togethers for them. And I had like 3 of them just for parts. I thought, if I would sell some parts off of this, I can make some pretty good money. And I didn't do it for months, probably. I had these tractors, and it was always in my mind. And I realized one day that I didn't do it because I thought people would make fun of me. And, I was like, who tears apart old garden tractors, and sells parts on the internet and stuff? Like, I was just like, no, people give me a hard time, it'll be weird. And
not worth the
finally
time.
one day finally one day I just decided to do it. So, I started buying and selling. I think I bought 30 John Deere garden tractors in 2019.
Oh, wow.
And find them on Facebook. And I got to the point that people knew I bought them. So people would contact me. I had parts on eBay, would sell stuff on Facebook. I got some magnetic business cards that had my name on them. I didn't really officially have a business name for that hustle, but I would send those out with parts. And that was when I was in 2019, I was 31. No, I was 30. So that was 4 years ago, and I still have people to this day call me looking for parts, even though I've kind of transitioned out of that.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
So I got to
really
ask,
cool.
so how, you bought tractors for how long before you decided?
Probably about a year. Yeah.
Okay. So I think you're like a lot of other business owners, right? I feel like Derek and I, we hear it a lot. They didn't start doing either they're starting their own business or doing a side hustle because they were scared, right? So what eventually just kind of pushed you over that edge of saying, you know what, to hell with it, I'm going after it now. It's time to
And
get it.
that's a really good question. And I have an answer to that. I wasn't sure if I was going to talk about it because I maybe talked about it on our last podcast, but my wife lost her job and she was home with the kids. And I worked as I sold promotional advertising on commission. And we did Dave Ramsey. So we budgeted every month. And if I had averaged a good month, no problem. But if I had an off month, which happens every so often, 2 or 3 months a year, you may have an off month. We couldn't make ends meet. And I finally was just like, well, I need to do this for some money. Sure. And, of course, my wife, was conservative about, I don't know if we should do this. We should be spending, about 2, 3, 4 weeks in, she's like, okay, yeah, this is working. I like this. So sometimes, your significant other may not see it at first, but I guess you just got to go out there and do it and show them, I suppose. But that's kind of what pushed me over the edge on it.
Cool. It's a good story. I feel like I've heard that one before.
Yeah. Well,
no, that's good. You said something, Dozer, that I feel like every one of our guests talks about. And we always ask our guests at the very end, if there was some piece of advice you would give to other entrepreneurs or other people who are wanting to start their own business, what would it be? I'd say 90% of them say, just do it. And I think the misunderstanding that a lot of people have is that people know what they're doing before they start. No one knows what the hell they're doing. No one knows. They just make it up as they go. You didn't know that these parts were, hard to find. You just bought a garden tractor to mow your yard and solved a problem along the way. Once you figured out, okay, this could be something that works. So I like that because it falls in line with every single guest we've ever had who've started anything. They just say, you just got to start and learn as you go.
And then, you said solving a problem kind of makes me think of a story too. I had a guy from Vandalia call me and want the brake pedals because I guess his had rolled over, fell off the truck and broke the brake pedals on it. He said he'd been looking for brake pedals for this tractor for 2 years. Wow. And when I told him I had them, I'd never sold them. Brake pedals aren't something you sell off a tractor and you part it out because they don't ever break really. Yeah. And I had a pile of them and I got some. And I literally had a grown man get emotional.
Yeah.
He'd been looking for 2 years for these.
That's crazy.
I had him not too far away and it was kind of interesting,
Yeah.
So he came and got him. He thanked me and it was kind of a neat thing, but people like that older stuff, the whole, it ain't built like it used to, and they don't build them like they used to. And I would say the quality they're a lot heavier built and people just, and it's a hobby for a lot of people on that stuff too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So, right. So you had this business and as it evolved, keep telling us the story of like how it evolved and where you took it.
So, I have a 70 by 30 garage or shop next to our house. Cause I'd always worked on cars and just done stuff like that. So when we bought the house, I wanted to make sure I had a shop. Well, half of that 70 by 30, I bought grocery store shelving. And I had the whole side full of grocery store shelving. All the parts were organized. And it was going really good. Well, then my wife, like say, was staying home with the kids. She wanted to make some money while she was staying home with the kids. And I won't go too much into the whole backstory on that. I'm sure that was on our other podcast. But we decided to start the metal shop. And I had enough, parts and stuff and saved up some money that we put that towards the metal shop equipment, our first CNC table to cut metal. And we got that in. I was still doing the tractor thing. And that kind of blew up on us. And I was like, we really need more room for the metal business. I kind of felt like that was more long-term, more legitimate than the tractor thing. And it was more legitimate. We actually, had a tax ID number and QuickBooks and all that. I did keep books on the tractor thing, but it was just an Excel spreadsheet,
Yeah.
nothing official. And so I found a guy in northern Indiana that bought everything I had. So I made him a price package deal, and he came. It took him 2 trips with a pickup truck and a 20-foot trailer to get everything home.
Wow.
So, and I got some pictures. He had put wood on the sides, and the parts are heaped up, but he took off, and I probably still sold 20% of those parts for him because people were still contacting me.
I bet.
And I would just give him his name. And actually that guy still sends me a Christmas card every year thanking me for all the business I send him his way. So
that's awesome.
He didn't have to start a business. You'd already started it for him.
Yeah, he basically kind of took it over, and I made him a deal. I just wanted the stuff out of my way at that point. Just because the metal business had taken off. Sure. So my wife and I did the metal business in 19 and 20. I was still working at Jedco selling advertising. Then I'd come home, eat dinner with the kids. Our big thing, was eat dinner together, play with the kids, get them to bed, go out to the garage till midnight. Well, we were just getting busier and busier with the metal thing. The advertising thing was slow because of COVID.
Right.
So I would go to work all day and sit there and twiddle my thumbs and then go home at 5 o'clock and work till 1 a.m. I was like, this seems kind of silly.
Yeah.
So ultimately I quit the family business selling advertising and went into the metal shop thing full time.
Gotcha. Wow.
So that's kind of my story, how one side hustle led to the next. And
that's the evolution.
Absolutely.
How we made a legitimate business about it.
That's crazy. And now Peace Lily Metalworks expanded into its own location. I don't know if you're willing to share the story of that, of how you kind of evolved and got a little bigger too, but
yes. Well, we moved from our home shop into town, into a 5,000 square foot building, and ended up hiring 2 employees. And we had about 100% growth the first 2 years we were open.
Wow.
As far as gross sales goes.
Yeah.
So
that's amazing.
So all you listeners out there, that started at 0. It wasn't even an idea. In what year was it? 2018?
2019, the fall. So 20 was our first year. So I think, in 21, we grossed over 200,000 in sales.
Holy cow.
Yeah. From nothing. That's what's cool, I think, is you took a leap of faith. You put all the negative talk in your head to the back and said, I'm just going to go start selling these parts. They've eventually evolved into a business that you and your wife operated. And then you end up hiring employees, expanding to a larger facility. And then obviously there's some other opportunities that you jumped at too. So that's what I want to, I think, hit home in this episode is for anybody out there. If you listen to any of the people we've interviewed, every single one of them say, just start. It doesn't matter. If you think you can do it, don't think you can do it. If you know what you're doing, don't know what you're doing. I would say most people don't know what they're doing. They just do it. And Dozer, I'm going to say,
do it to learn.
Yes. Like think of Dozer's business selling the parts. He had to find inventory. He had to sell the inventory. He had to learn how to ship the inventory, which I'm sure was a undertaking in and of its own. But I'm sure you figured it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
like I say, it was a learning process the whole way, because as you're doing it, you're getting customer service experience. Somebody gets a part they're not happy with, you got to take care of that. Stuff gets lost in shipping. The sales part of it, people are messaging you all the time, and because you're selling stuff on Facebook, so they don't really realize it's kind of a business and not to text you, on Sunday at 3 o'clock. But I still sold a part, and I enjoyed it so much I didn't mind it. People would call me and I would talk to them for an hour, about tractor stuff, and they'd buy one $30 part or $50 part, but I spent an hour, talking to them about, they're restoring this tractor and I've got, these tires for it. And okay, yeah, I got these tires for mine. And I did keep some parts too. As you buy tractors, you get like attachments, like wheel weights or a snow plow. I kind of keep them for myself. So it's
Nice.
kind of nice. I always told people I was a tractor collector that sold just enough to buy the next one.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah,
Well,
but,
those are any other things that you want to share in the first segment here about side hustling before we jump onto the second episode?
Well, I think, I guess just to clear the water a little bit, the metal thing we did pull back and scale down a little bit because we ended up taking over Jedco unexpectedly, just due to some distress and stuff. And we had the opportunity to buy it off my dad. And we just decided that that was would accelerate our career, because that's a 40-year established business. So that's what we did. And I guess you make a decision and go with it. So we do a little metal stuff still, but nothing to the scale that we were doing it. But I think 22 would have been a really good year. We were getting some really big momentum, and that momentum was actually kind of hard to stop, to be honest.
Sure.
It's a good problem.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice.
But,
So
yeah.
went from Jedco to selling tractor parts to starting Peace Lily Metalworks, then back to Jedco.
Back to Jedco.
and back to Jedco. So,
It all came full circle.
and none of it was planned. When you're a little kid, you don't say, oh, this is what I'm going to do, but you just kind of go with it and take opportunities when they arise and just keep going. So
Nice. Perfect. Well, I think that's a good stopping point for session 1. We'll see y'all in session 2. While you're listening, please make sure you're subscribing to the CIBL podcast on your favorite podcast platform. While you're there, give us a quick review. You can also find us on social media, mainly on LinkedIn and Facebook. You can connect with Garrett and I personally there as well. Until next time, y'all been civilized. Take care.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/CIBL podcast. You can also follow us on LinkedIn. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. It's the civilized thing to do.